The WNBA semifinals are locked. They are set. We have the Indiana Fever traveling to Vegas to play them in the semifinals, and then we have the Phoenix Mercury traveling to play the Minnesota Lynx in the semifinals. Sorry, two pretty good series. Obviously, the Aces series, you would hope that they were a little bit more healthy, but we said that going into the last series, and they were able to come out with a win. So we have to give them their due credit, and just give them their props and the proper acknowledgement for being able to get past a team that had a ton of talent on it in the Atlanta Dream and were the favorites going into that series with Indiana going through as many injuries as they were going through. And while Vegas is more top heavy and has more top talent, I would say Indiana has done a better job of filling out their talent. Like around Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston in this series, you trust those players around Indiana more than you trust the players around Asia, Jackie, and Chelsea. So that's what it's going to come down to, is how many players on Vegas can step up and make plays. And for the Fever, are they going to be able to contain Asia at all? Like, are they going to be able to send doubles and help and make other players make plays, or are they going to allow Asia to play one-on-one? Are they going to allow Chelsea Gray to get favorable matchups and things like that? I think with what the kinds of players that Indiana has, they could match up quite well. Having like an Odyssey Sims, who's a very veteran guard. Same with Shea Petty. Obviously, you have Kelsey Mitchell, who can score in bunches. You have Aaliyah Boston, who can play really physical in the post. You have Natasha Howard, who is very experienced and a good defender in her own right. You have Bree Turner, who's been playing phenomenal the last couple of games. You have players like Ariel Powers who can come off the bench. You even have someone like Bree Hall, who you can throw on. A player for a few possessions and see what she can give you. You obviously have Lexi Hole as your go-to defender. And again, I wish they were healthy so we could really see this series in its entirety, because this series would be really, really interesting, I feel like, if it were where the Fever were healthy. I still think they have a chance in the series, but obviously it's not as big of a chance they would have if Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Erin McDonald were all healthy. But I'm gonna say that the Aces probably end up winning this series, just because Asia's been too good recently. She doesn't give off the feeling that she's gonna just allow the team to fall through and just not show up and not do the things they're supposed to do. Now, granted, the last two games they played, they were very well on their way to potentially losing the series. But I will say they were able to turn around. They were able to make enough plays, and that's a lot of what they did during their 17-game win streak, is get to the end of the game and be able to make plays late. And when I say make plays, mostly defensively. Like, they weren't phenomenal offensively late in the game, but defensively is where they really have hung their hat on late in games. And this will be a tougher team to do that against, because they knew who they want to get the ball to at the end of the game, and they also, I feel like, are better late game in terms of coaching than the Storm are. So this is going to be interesting to see the difference between strategies and game plans and how they change from game to game, because I think Indiana will actually change their game plan if need be, as opposed to where I feel like Seattle didn't really do that as much. The second series that we have is Phoenix and Minnesota, which is a super, super, super even matchup. In terms of talent and skill level, Phoenix might even have the edge there in terms of like top end talent, just having 3 all-stars, 3 players that have been Olympians. Obviously the Lynx have some as well, but the top end talent, you can see, like, on paper it looks like, okay, this is going to be a really tough series for Minnesota. And Alyssa Thomas said it last night. She said they haven't played Minnesota full health, so Minnesota hasn't seen them. Granted, that may be true, but I think Minnesota has done such a good job all season long that they deserve that cachet, I would say, of getting that initial push, that initial, like, okay, this should be Minnesota's series to win, but we'll see what happens in game 1 and game 2 and see how things go, because again, this is now a 5-game series, so I'm very curious to see what Phoenix and Minnesota looks like. I think Fee and Atlanta Smith have their work cut out for them. Having to deal with Alyssa Thomas, I think Jess Shepard's gonna have to play a lot. Just having a bigger body out there. Clea Nicole probably have to get out there and get some minutes as well. Dejanay went down with an injury, so hopefully she's able to play in this series. I don't know for sure yet. I haven't seen the reports, but this series is going to come down to the players outside of Fee and Alyssa Thomas, in my opinion. I think players like Courtney Williams, Kayla McBride, Atlanta Smith, Natisha Heidemann are going to be the big keys for them, and just being able to take pressure off Fee, take eyes off of Fee, because they're gonna load up on Fee at different moments, because Fee is just that good. You know, you don't want to let Fee be the person that wins this series and wins each game, similar to how Seattle did with the Aces, allowing Asia to really play one-on-one and just like, oh, we're going to live with the 2s instead of the 3s type of thing. I don't think Phoenix will do that. And then for the other side, I think Satu, Ka, Mo, Makani, and then probably Sammy and Dawana. Like, you need some big performances. You need big moments from them to be able to win this series, to be able to win 3 games against Minnesota, and you're gonna have to win a few on their court, most likely, to at least one on their court, most likely to win the series. So, in my opinion, it's gonna come down to the players outside of Fee and AT. But I still think Fee and AT are gonna have to be incredible, which they typically are. But I think Satu Sabally, if I pick one player from each side, it'd be Satu Sabally and Kayla McBride, of like the 2 players that each team needs to step up the most. I think Courtney Williams just needs to be disciplined, just make the plays that are there, and I think she'll be able to do well. I think Bridget Carlton, they obviously want her to shoot a little bit better, but as long as she shoots the ball efficiently, I think they'll be okay. And then obviously these are 2 teams that like to shoot the 3. They're 2 teams that rely on defense. So these are gonna be some games where it's gonna be tough to score. There might be some games where both teams are scoring a lot. You just don't really know, because these are 2 elite teams, 2 elite defenses. And I would say 2. I don't want to say elite coach for Phoenix just yet. Cheryl Reeve, I think, is the best coach in WNBA history. And then you have Nate Tibbetts, who has shown to be a good coach over the last couple of seasons. So those are 2 really good series. Didn't really get to talk about the Liberty, but the Liberty did fall short of their goal of getting back-to-back championships, losing to Phoenix last night in Phoenix. Really rough game for them outside of Stewie and Sabrina. Jonquel struggled mightily, not just with her shot, but with foul trouble, her I don't want to say temper, but her just overall attitude throughout the game, just letting things affect her too much. And then even when her teammates tried to calm her down, she was kind of like swatting them away and things like that. So not a very good look as a team. Maureen Johannes didn't play last night. Emma Mieseman didn't look great in her minutes. Phoebus had some moments, but she went out with an injury early and then came back in. So don't really know how that injury played a part in how she played. Natasha Cloud didn't play bad, didn't get a lot of shots. So yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see what they do in the off season. A lot of free agents. I want to say most of the team is free agents because they don't really have any young players. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring back. I think Sabrina and Stewie are the top 2 that they're like absolutely have to bring back, and then after that you figure out what you can do around them. Because they're honestly a 2 bad calls away from not having a championship at all. And I'm not one to call things failures, and I said this in the last video, but this is a failure of a season. But I think there has to be some context. There was some injuries to Stewie, to Jonquel, and even late season with Sabrina with the toe injury. So there has to be some context, but this is definitely not the way you want to end your season, because you still had a chance. Stewie was definitely hurt, but she played phenomenal late game, or all throughout the game 3. So they had a chance to win. We'll see what they do from here on out, but make sure you guys tap into the semifinals and tap back in here with me on this YouTube channel. Thank you.